Meow, I'm Huples cat. Space prepping? Prepping in space? What is it and why should it be important down here?
Yeah, we haven't stabled out in that attitude yet, so I don't think we can have any problem.
Right, I don't think there's any problem. They haven't opened up dead ends yet.
Yeah, that's just what I'm saying. The time to do it is now, guide.
Flight again.
Go, guide.
In space, like on Earth, things can go wrong. Let us return to Apollo 13, not the one with Tom Hanks on board.
Okay, why don't you got to pass the data for the crew checklist anyway on board, don't you?
Right.
Don't you got a page update? Well, why don't we read it up to them and that'll serve both purposes.
All right.
Both have them entered as well as why don't you tell them what page you want it in the checklist.
Okay.
Flight, tell me.
Okay, we've had a problem here.
Overhead hatch is closed and the heater current looks normal. Okay.
Flight again.
Go, guide.
We've
This
had
is
a
Houston,
hardware
say again, please.
I don't know what it was.
Okay. GNC, you want to look at it? See if you can.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Roger, we're copying it, Capcom. We see a
We've had a
hardware.
B bus undervolt.
You see an
Roger,
AC
main
bus
B
undervolt there, guide? Or ecom?
Negative flight.
Training, redundancy and sheer luck saved the Apollo 13 crew from certain death. But what should we Earth astronauts down here focus on?
For those things you need to stay alive in space: power, oxygen, pressure, heat, water.
Power, oxygen, pressure, heat and water. We have it easy. Down here, only heat and water are essential. If you find yourself in need of power or oxygen or atmospheric pressure to survive, you're toast.
You were told that the 5 passengers of the Titan passed away instantly from the implosion. And this is true, but if you were wondering just how instant we're talking about, let me explain. It takes our brain 100 milliseconds to process pain, and it takes our eyes 13 milliseconds to process visually. So when the Titan imploded, the high pressure caused the entire event to take less than 1 millisecond. This means it was truly an instant lights out for the victims.
In space, Earth-independent medical operations is important. They have to be able to do care completely separate from Earth, including lack of communications. I would argue this is the same type of care you're going to need to do in a massive disaster. We as preppers are going to need to do society-independent medical operations. Of course, you can swap out the word medical for food, security, water, whatever you like. And in fact, I would argue you should do. This is how you should be focusing on your prepping. Do you recognize this old myth? It is often quoted, but it is always entirely situational. A drowned toddler pulled from a river or a swimming pool can survive much longer than 3 minutes without oxygen. And you should endeavour to save that child as long as you can. You can of course survive for weeks with no food if it isn't too cold or if you have really good equipment and clothing and you're not doing anything. For us Earth astronauts, these are the 7 priorities that we need to focus on down here. The order is not fixed and is person, location and situation dependent. For example, lighting a signal fire is way higher importance to you than food if you happen to be stuck on an island near a shipping lane. Shelter may or may not be the actual first priority over even serious medical issues. The priority is going to depend on the conditions. The more you've trained in different conditions and thought about the situations you'll face, easier it is to make the right decisions. But I'm going to argue that the main lesson for us Earth astronauts down here is the Kaplan-Meier curve. This has been used in healthcare for many years. Basically what you do is you have the number of patients on the x-axis and you alter a variable and you see how many of them are dead over time on the y-axis. This is very useful for preppers as it will statistically show you your 0 date. When you hit 0 on the y-axis, you will die if that supply or need is absolutely essential. When it drops to 0, you've run out of food. When your water drops to 0, you've ran out of water. When your shelter, heating have dropped to 0, you've ran out of that. But what does this matter? Well, what matters is, for example, if you do all of this and you figure out you've got 12 months supply of food. After 12 months, unless you've done something during those 12 months to increase the supply of food, you got no food left and you're then going to die. What are you going to do? But look at what you're doing. How many people are you feeding? If you feed half as many people, you will then last to 24 months rather than 12 months. If you're able to do some indoor sprouting and seeding, you might be able to last to 13 or 14 months. I'm not saying you can do this scientifically, scientifically, what I'm saying is it gives you a good idea about what the 0 point is. And you've got to avoid the 0 point. Traditionally in prepping, what we do is we think, I have 3 months supply of food. I have 2 years supply of food. What the Kaplan-Meier curve tells you to do is to stop thinking in those terms. You don't have 2 years supply of food. You have 2 years until you have no food. It focuses you, if you do it properly, on what happens after the 2 years. Preppers focus on how to prevent harm and discomfort in the now, in the moment of the disaster, and how long that they can go in that disaster without having to particularly suffer. What they're not doing is thinking about what happens when they run out of a critical thing. What happens next? Now, in a future video, I'm going to boldly return to space using the Kaplan-Meier curve. This is because the shelf life of medications is very important to a lot of preppers, and for some preppers it's life or death. If they run out of their particular medication, they might die or they will die. So they want to make sure their stocks will last their lifetime. Medications expire over time, and knowing when they've expired and how dangerous they might be if they expire is of critical importance. The next video is going to look at this in detail. The research is no longer freely available that the United States Air Force did on this, which is unfortunate, but there is now free information available on shelf life of medications from the International Space Station. So don't say space never did anything for you. It gave you Velcro and cell phones, and now shelf life information. That's it for me. Please subscribe, share this if you want to. What I will say now is,
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for
Huples Cat. This video has been brought to you by a Tornado Prone Terrier Production 2024.